Article 4 Summary. The title of the article is 10 Practical Tips for Making Fractions Come Alive and Make Sense by Doug M. Clark, Ann Roach, and Annie Mitchell. The summary of this article is that they have outlined the many challenges facing teachers and students in schools and even in colleges in the teaching and learning of important fraction concepts. A range of big ideas has been discussed. Some important data from one-on-one interviews with students have been shared, and 10 practical research-based tips for the classroom teacher has been offered, with approximate classroom activities suggested. The article is convinced that from their experiences in the professional development setting, that these 10 ideas and suggestions have great potential for making fractions come alive and make sense in the middle years of teaching the current generation. Many advantages. This is quote number 1. Quote 1, reflection. Using a number line has many advantages. It helps students see how whole numbers and fractions and decimals relate. Excuse me. And it gives a great visual for students that are visual learners to actually see the whole number and fraction and decimal breakdown or a fraction breakdown. I actually love this number line, using a number line with special needs children in one-on-one teaching. They just seem to just grasp it so easily versus using counters and any other dealing with math one-on-one lessons. Quote 2. Give a greater emphasis to the meaning of fractions than on procedure for manipulating them. Quote 2, reflection. Teachers need to give a greater emphasis to the meaning of fractions rather than on the procedures for multiplicating them. Some curriculum documents sometimes give the sense that the ultimate goal of teaching fractions is that students will be able to carry out the four operations with them. We believe, teachers believe, and the article believes, develop a general rule for explaining the numerator and denominator of a fraction. Quote 3, reflection. When students are first trying to make sense of common fractions, teachers typically define a fraction as the following. The denominator tells you how many parts the whole has being broke up into. And the numerator tells you how many of these parts to take, count, or shade in. This explanation works reasonably well for fractions between the numbers of 0 and 1, but not for improper fractions, which are fractions greater than 1. The article prefers or explains for students in fractions A over B, B is the name or size of the part, and A is the number of parts that name or size. If we have 7/3, the 3 tells us the name or size of the parts, and the 7 tells us that we have 7 out of 7 of those thirds, or 2 1/3. The article actually believes that the new rule may help students use more appropriate language when labeling fractions.